Robin says, "Hey, Willie and Pat, Rob from Pennsylvania here.
Hey man, what's up?
Hell of a state." The question is more for Pat, as I believe he played DoD in the past. But now that Willie has some FPS experience under his belt, he should be able to chime in. In Day of Defeat, which weapon is better, the Kar 98K or the M1 Garand? Some inf-
Ah!
some info for getting Wooly up to speed. The Kar 98 would kill in one shot no matter the location hit, even if it was someone's toe. It had pixel perfect accuracy, but for being a bolt action rifle, it had a very slow rate of fire. On the other hand, the
Man,
Garand would be quite fast, and about as fast as the BR in Halo without burst fire. Would one shot on hits to the head and the chest, anywhere else took two. Wasn't super accurate like the Kar 98. You can't reload until you run the gun dry. I think you know the iconic ping of a Garand running out of ammo.
yeah.
Which is better? Well, I have a feeling on that statement without any info on the game. I'm going to go
Yeah,
ahead and
what's that?
say that based on the fact that the downside of the Garand, or rather, the downside of the Kar 98 you've described is that the accuracy is, if any, the player would be the issue. I would say higher
hmm
skill ceiling makes sense for that to be considered the better gun because in the hands of someone playing properly, you can do more damage with it.
Now, before I continue on in this, I'm actually going to go with what I consider to be probably the most hipster answer I could possibly give, which is my actual favorite uh, uh, gun on the one button is the Enfield on Jagged. But it's identical to the K98, but I prefer the sound effects for it. Um,
Why did you grab your head?
because
Is this
I had
tough?
that argument for like 200 hours.
Okay.
Um, so the K98 is objectively better than the M1 Garand if you can guarantee that you will hit the shot.
Exactly.
The
This
the
is
M1 Garand, you can get 3 shots out before the K98 will get the second one.
the definitive answer to this question is based on the skill level of the person playing.
Yeah.
It's a hard you can't ping it because you can't ping it to a certain spot because it's like if your accuracy is shit, then you better go for the one that'll compensate for bad accuracy. You know, it's
The
asking how
my
much of an assist you want. You know,
my old screen name, Snapshot King, was specifically earned from playing with the K98 or the Enfield in maps that supported it and coming around a corner because the thing was is that yeah, they both had melee hits, but if you had the K98 or the Enfield, it was just as dangerous within a couple feet as it was at long ranges because if you got a person's body entirely over the bloom of the reticle, it was just a death machine. Like you would, if you pointed directly at them from close enough, they would just die, and they would die in one frame. So if you were really, really good about taking corners, you could turn a bolt action rifle into like a hallway crawler. Like you just go in the little hallway parts of maps and just hug the corners and just pop people the instant you saw them. You would often run into situations where an M1 guy and a K98 guy would be at the ass ends of the map, plunking away at each other. And when you're that far away, it's hard to hit somebody in the spot that you want. They're dots on the horizon. And if they're dots on the horizon, it's way more likely that you're going to hit their foot or their arm or whatever part of their body doesn't instantly kill them with the Garon versus the K98, which is ice them instantly.
So I'm sure
Uh,
Day of Defeat, like any other video game, had a meta that was determined by the best players in the game, right?
Absolutely.
So the best players in the game, in any game, will represent the peak of the skill you can apply.
Hmm.
Excuse me, and they will like things that go beyond where they're at get into what if you're a human aimbot, right?
Yeah.
Then what does
Well,
this even apply? And it's like, well, no one's a
what
human aimbot, right? But
what if your human aimbot became a really bizarre problem in the very first version of Day of Defeat because the sniper rifle didn't have any unscoped sway to it, so you would just take a Sharpie and then put a
put a dot
dot
in
in
your
the middle of
screen.
your monitor, and it would be a railgun. It would be an infinite range railgun.
Yeah, okay.
Um, and then they changed that.
Everything was hit scan.
Yeah, it's all hit scan.
Yeah, okay.
The way they did it in Day of Defeat and the way that it shook out is that the K98 dominated the long range encounters because of its one hit kill. But in general, the Allies had better automatic weapons, except for the huge machine gun ones, which would be the MG 42 for the Nazis. So the Allies tended to excel at all the medium ranges, whereas the Nazis excelled at the longer ones.
Yeah, so
Now
I would,
these are like 5% differences. They're not like the end of the world kind of thing.
but I think you can just say though that like there's this discussion always happens, but like you can't really make a statement on like you can't like the skill level of the people who are at the top of the meta are the ones that can pretty much call out what is best when it comes to user error versus like perfection at all times. There are games, there are competitive games of just about every genre where certain races or certain cards or styles of play are like unstoppable if flawless, but execution is like impossibly hard or approaching
Mm-hmm.
it. And someone can say that on paper, in theory, if every single time you landed this, you would win and it would just be like a complete game over, then you'd be the best. And someone plays the game enough to get to that point. When that person exists, then the meta changes. You know?
Yeah, it's what happened with the BAR on the Allies. It would be that big machine gun that's almost always depicted with the tripod on it. That thing kicked like a fucking mule, but it did a ton of damage and was otherwise accurate. It's just the recoil was out of control. And once people started to get good with that, oh my god, that thing dominated all the automatics.
But until
Um,
that person exists, you
that
can't
person existed very quickly.
you like there's no point. It doesn't apply. You can't bring it up.
That person, that was in the heyday of Counter Strike and Day of Defeat being new. Those people just spontaneously came into being like right away. It was really weird. Um, like just immediately, people started to get real good
Mm-hmm.
at this style of first person shooter. It's funny because the talk about the K98 actually allows me to talk about my most disappointing game I have ever played in my entire life, and that is Day of Defeat Source. And it is the fastest I have gone from the most hyped game ever to a game that I played like one match and never again. You remember Counter Strike Source came out and everybody was
Mm-hmm.
excited because of CS Source? Well, Day of Defeat Source came out, and oh my god, I was so excited. And I loaded into God, what goddamn match was it? I loaded into Avalanche. Of course, it was Avalanche, and I picked Grenadier, pressed one, played the Axis role, got my K98, pointed it at a motherfucker, shot him. It hit him in the arm, and he didn't die. And I fucking turned off, I exited the game, and I fucking uninstalled it, and I have never played it again. Like, that
Right.
gun
Right.
was just like, I don't know what you guys think you are doing to this game. But you took a gun that's entire lifespan and identity was it kills you no matter where it hits, but it has a really long reload, and it's a rail gun, and you turned it into a shitty whatever. I don't want to play this game. I don't want to play this game anymore. I'm going to go back to old Day of Defeat. Thank you. I want to walk out of a corner and instantly die and watch the kill cam and not be able to tell who shot me and where they are.
Man, fuck Brood Wars. I'm going back to StarCraft Original.
I don't think anybody ever said that. I don't think that's
Fuck these lurkers.
That was a very... Actually, yeah, I did. Yeah, I do remember that. Fuck these lurkers. That people got bad. Fuck these goddamn Dark Templars. Oh my god. Oh man, people were so mad.
Dark Archons. Yeah. Yep.
It's like you fucking patched Street Fighter 2 and the Shoryu didn't have any invincibility on it anymore.
Or it didn't knock you down. It didn't knock you down.
If the Shoryu didn't knock you down,
that's
and you're like, this game is pointless. This game has no value anymore.
Yeah, there
I
are
am out.
There are about 8,000 fighting game similarities that I deliberately opted to not bring up in that conversation.
Yeah,
on purpose.
just like the desires of the devs are so far away from what I actually want that I am done.